You're in a calorie deficit, you're training hard, and the scale won't budge, unfortunately. So today, I'm gonna be breaking down 5 research-backed mistakes that could be quietly stalling your fat loss progress, and the exact actionable fixes you need to do to help you drop fat without sacrificing your strength or your sanity. I'm gonna give you a week-by-week plan that you could utilize, and a sample day of eating you could steal from me as well. First mistake, training to burn calories, not to keep muscle. Guys, those endless HIIT workouts, I know they feel productive, but it really doesn't give the reason for your body to hold on as much muscle as you possibly can, especially when you're in a calorie deficit. And less muscle you have, the lower energy expenditure you tend to create, then it becomes easier to regain all that weight you just actually lost. So what the research said, we have a 2022 systematic review meta-analysis found on resistance training reduces fat mass and visceral fat, the fat around your organs that are usually the hardest to get rid of or the last spot to get rid of, and how it improves body fat percentage. It's not just for muscle. It meaningfully shifts your body composition, so you're gonna end up losing fat and building muscle depending on where you start and then where you end. And we also have large comparative analysis showing aerobic training, resistance training, and both training all help with fat loss. But usually cardio weightlifting usually helps a little bit more and trims down the fat a little bit more as well, while keeping your lean mass, because you're also expending more energy through cardio without you sacrificing eating less food volume. So translation here, you don't have to choose either doing cardio or just doing weight training, because that gets asked a ton of times. The only thing you need to do and be wary about is not to stop lifting. To fix this, you would want to anchor or at least do 3 to 5 days of resistance training, either full body or upper day splits, because you're hitting each muscle 2 times per week. That's one of the best case scenarios. If you go 2 or 3 days, you can make 2 days full body. So you would work out Monday full body, you have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, and then you do another full body by Friday comes. And then if you did upper lower splits, let's say you do 3 days a week, you do Monday upper, Tuesday lower, and then Friday could essentially be incorporating full body training as well. And then we want to hit each muscle very hard, close to failure, if not to failure, so we could spare as much muscle as we can. I'm talking 10 to 20 sets per muscle per week. 1 to 3 reps in reserve is generally like the sweet spot for most people, or close to failure. In which case we could focus on specific patterns of movement. So you want to do like some type of squat pattern. So if you want to do the hack squat on leg days, you want to do the leg press, doing a hinge movement. So some type of stiff legged deadlift, push, pull, single legs, they're all great. The rule for this is usually to add a rep each week at the top of your rep range and then add load. So like, let's say for instance, you're doing hack squats for 10 to 20 reps and then you hit 20 reps out of that weight. You could either increase the reps or just increase the weight load, which would probably be a lot more feasible for you. But you got to remember too, also grabbing the weight, coming back takes a lot more energy out of you. So it really just depends on you and your preference. We also want to think of cardio as a tool and not as an identity, because most people use it as just their sole purpose, as their own identity. 2 to 3 sessions per week could be a sweet spot for most people, 20 to 40 minutes, steady state or intervals. And then you could pair that with a step floor rather than just chasing the amount of calories burned on the console itself. Mistake number 2, the deficit is very aggressive. And now in this case, you're tanking your NEAT and your performance. So usually what happens when you slash calories is the scale's gonna drop fast, then it stalls, but all that fat loss could be a various amount of things. It could be glycogen because you dropped your carbohydrates too fast. It could just be you're eating less food volume, so obviously you're not holding on to as much weight as you can. In which case your appetite's gonna end up skyrocketing, your steps are unconsciously gonna fall, and you're not gonna realize this. You're gonna be lazier than usual. Your training quality is probably gonna drop. You're gonna notice that in your performance each week. Even before you get there or get to the gym, you're just gonna notice mentally that you're not in the same mental realm as you were to push those same dumbbells as you were the prior week, to hit those same dumbbells now next week, or to do the same amount of squat and reps and weight the prior week and then do it again the next week. Your water, your glycogen, as I said before, it's gonna swing, it's gonna mask fat loss, and you're gonna be very confused whether you're actually losing fat or just water. And in this case scenario, you really didn't break your metabolism, because most people believe that immediately you're just gonna, start to drop your metabolism, and it really doesn't work like that. But adaptive thermogenesis and lower non-exercise activity NEAT, they hit hard. because you're just going to be lazier in the day because you're going to be consuming less food. So you're going to be unconsciously just moving less, fidgeting less, which helps to actually burn more calories overall in your whole day. What the research says is in athletes and active folks, slower, moderate calorie deficits preserve more lean muscle mass and performance than crash approaches. We know that for a fact that if you take someone with 3,000 calories and drop them all the way down to 1,600 calories and they're not taking anything, no enhancements, nothing whatsoever, no GLP-1s, no peptides, they're more likely than not probably going to lose muscle mass, along with water, glycogen, and fat. In which case, we want to favor a slower route for muscle retention and training quality. And then also you got to remember that when you severely do it and it's quick, those severe restrictions trigger those metabolic adaptations in the weight loss alone that they wouldn't even predict. So basically, as soon as you start dropping it, a few weeks in, your body's going to adapt to all those changes, and then you're just going to end up moving less because you're eating less food volume too, eating less protein, less thermic effect of the food, you're going to be fidgeting less, and you're not going to have that good of a performance in the gym. In which case, to fix this, what we want to do is we want to target anywhere from 0.5 to 1% of body weight loss per week. Example, you're 200 pounds. You're a 200-pound man, guy, doesn't matter. You want to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week so you can preserve as much muscle mass while predominantly losing fat mass. In which case, you want to set calories anywhere from 10% to 25% below your true maintenance, and then reassess every 2 weeks what a 7-day week average. So what this would really look like is if you're 200 pounds, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're 201 Friday, but then the next week comes and then you're 200 Monday, 200 Tuesday, Wednesday comes and you drop to 199.1. You hit a new weekly low, and that's good because now we're on track to losing 0.5 to 1% of body weight each week. Also, very important too is to lock a daily step floor count. So 8 to 12,000 steps a day is pretty good. That's going to help blunt the NEAT. That's going to drop as you diet because you're going to fidget less, move less. I do this a lot. A lot of people tend to do this a lot because you mentally can see it or physically can see it on your app. It's going to make you move a lot more than you normally would. And then if a week stalls, first just add 1 to 2K steps a day before cutting more food, depending on the person. If you hate food and you can't stand it and you're just getting sick of it and you're not one to eat a lot, cut the food first and then decrease the steps, or vice versa. We can also do optional diet breaks like every 6 to 8 weeks. I usually do this. I take about a few days, 7 to 4 days at estimated maintenance. So if you're at 2,000 calories right now and you weigh 200 pounds, let's say for an example, you take 200 pounds multiplied by 15, that would be your maintenance. You stay there for like about a week until you mentally get there, physically get there, your sleep is better, your recovery is better. Overall, you just feel better and you're ready to go back into the diet. Also, we want to keep protein intake high and still keep lifting and training and doing the cardio as well. Next mistake, your protein is way too low. This is one that a lot of people do and they still do it to this day, which I don't know why because there's so much information about this. So what happens exactly when you eat enough protein, but not enough for a deficit? In cuts, protein is one of the cheapest insurance policies for your lean muscle mass, for your strength, and your satiety. Because the minute you start dropping the protein and you're in the deficit, you're setting up yourself for failure real quick. We have meta-analysis indicating that even just 1.6 kilograms per day of intake is just a practical minimum to maximize muscle strength, lean muscle with resistance training. Going above that, in certain case scenarios, we have specific studies saying that it gives you diminishing returns or not any returns for muscle, but can aid in satiety. We have a randomized control trial showing that a 40% deficit found that high protein plus hard training produced greater fat loss gains in lean muscle versus just lower protein. So we could tell already how important to keeping your protein intake high is very much going to help you with your metabolic health. Yes, gaining muscle while cutting is also possible when protein and training are nailed, but it also depends on the situation the person is in. If they're overweight, they tend to build muscle and lose fat easier. If they're a beginner or they're on enhancements, those are generally the populations that are able to build muscle and lose fat the easiest. In which case, to fix this, we want to hit a target of anywhere from 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram, which would equate to 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, which is easy. So whatever your body weight is, go for a gram. I like to also distribute my protein intake so it just feels a lot better on my stomach. You get more satiety throughout the day and you're not hungry in the morning and then starving at night because you cut off food by the time 3 o'clock p.m. hits. So spreading out your protein intake isn't necessary, but can help you even if it's just a few percentages. In which case we could do a pre-meal target of 0.4 to 0.6 grams per kilogram with 3 to 5 feedings. Each about 30 to 50 grams for most people, including one right before you go to bed if it helps you hit your total daily goal and if it helps you go to sleep. In which case we want to hit possibly a pre-target meal of anywhere from 0.4 to 0.6 grams per kilogram with 3 to 6 feedings each day. I think anything less than 3, you're going to create a lot more food volume in your stomach. You're probably going to create more stomach discomfort. Anything more than 6, you're going to be too food focused on this diet or just in general if you keep doing that. And you're not going to be really thinking about your work life, your family life. You're just going to be thinking about meals. And that's not what we want. We want a balance. In which case, too, very important is we want to prioritize certain proteins over others. So we're thinking chicken breast. The tenderloins are generally the leanest in most stores. You got Greek yogurt, non-fat or fat-free are the best ones. So they have Okois, they have Chobani's. I think almost any brand nowadays make non-fat Greek yogurt. Depending on which one you get, it tastes the best. Costco Kirkland is a really good brand because it's really cheap. Cottage cheese we could do. For fish, usually tilapia, cod, tuna in water and not in oil. Same thing with the salmon. Whey protein, usually whey isolate or hydrolyzed is just going to be easier on your stomach, on your digestive system, especially as you get older. And quality blends, so like legumes, tofu, but also eggs and egg whites. I think eggs are one of the most nutrient dense foods. I still keep them every single day in my daily days. And not to mention eggs and egg whites, I always consume whole eggs about 6 to 8 every single day because the amount of micronutrients it has, the choline, the B vitamins, the omega-3s for your brain health, for your heart health. Always include those every single day, whole eggs. We can always now keep carbs and fats flexible around training preference and adherence. It also depends on how active you are and how non-active you are, how much you like fats, if you had any pre-existing medical conditions, but that's not what this is. Mistake number 4, over-fixating on carbs versus fats and then ignoring fiber in the food volume. Generally happens is like when you hop between low carb and low fat diets, and this has been going on for years, decades, is everyone looks for that one true diet that's going to work for them. Meanwhile, they're missing the calories and the protein are the real levers here. But that doesn't mean that there's other foods that can't help, because there's absolutely a lot of foods that can help. Specifically, fiber. If fiber is really low, it's not going to help satiate you as much, especially when you're in the calorie deficit and you're just going to hate the diet itself and you're not probably going to adhere to it. The meals probably aren't filling, and then the diet becomes just a grind for you and it's not flexible, it's not easy, and that's not what you want to do. In this specific research, we have a 12-month randomized control trial. It shows low fat versus low carb produced no meaningful difference in weight loss when diet quality was high and support was matched. We also have another study. This is from an intermittent fasting lovers. 2022 randomized control trial found that time-restricted eating without calorie control didn't beat the standard calorie restriction when total calories were matched. So energy balance still rules. The first laws of thermodynamics still absolutely apply here. But I will say, I noticed specifically for my dieting, for most of my clients, a real kicker besides the calories and protein is the fiber. Why? Because we have a meta-analysis of fiber supplementation in adults show that small to moderate additional weight loss and better glycemic lipid markers for fibers specifically. So fiber is going to help you stick to the plan by making the meals more filling. It's going to also help to decrease all-cause mortality, diseases, and that's been shown in a lot of research. In which case, to fix this, we can always choose patterns that you want to adhere to, which is the most important for any diet. Don't start going on a keto because you heard your friends lost like 20 pounds on the first week from it, or intermittent fasting because you saw your best friend Gil start doing some weird stuff and now all of a sudden she's just eating steak between 3 to 6 p.m. Don't do that. We know why Gil lost 50 pounds in a month. It's because she's only eating steak between 3 to 6 p.m. In which case, if you love rice, you love pasta, you love fruit, run a moderate carb diet if that's the case. If you love avocados, you love nuts, eggs, go moderate fat, lower carbohydrate. Keep the protein intake high, then set the carbs and fats depending on your preference. Also too, if your performance tends to tank in the gym, you might want to up the carbohydrates and lower the fats. But if you're okay with that and your performance is doing perfectly fine, keep doing what you're doing. And then fiber intake anywhere from 30 grams to 40 grams via fruit. Apples, blueberries are one of my favorites because blueberries generally tend to be a superfood. If I had to classify any fruit as a superfood, it's going to be blueberries, wild blueberries specifically. Vegetables, legumes, I've been including a can of black beans every single day, and that's helped me hit my fiber goals for the day. And it's also helped me hit satiety, especially when I'm dieting down, just having a can of black beans, it's very filling. And then we could also consider other specific supplements as well. if all your foods fall short somehow. Let's use some volume cheat codes. So broth-based soups is a really good volume cheat code because it's more filling. If you drink generally more water before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner, it's going to tend to keep you a little bit more fuller than if you weren't. Big salad. So I'm talking about spinach. Always include spinach, romaine lettuce, light in calories, high in volume, high in micronutrients, vitamin K. Those are always amazing, and those are always included and should be included, especially when you keep dieting down. Berries, as I mentioned before, blueberries, about 80 calories for 140 grams, but specifically that cup fills up a lot, so you're gonna get a lot more food volume to help satiate you. Potatoes are one of the most satiating foods you can have with high water vegetables. We're talking broccoli, cauliflower, and then make high protein yogurt bowls. So you grab either the Okois, the Chobanis, grab some non-fat Greek yogurt, just plain if you want it like that. Mix some cinnamon, some stevia, sweeten it up a little bit, some frozen fruit, honey, comes out amazing. You get a nice low calorie, high protein bowl if you want to consume it right before you go to bed or right before you work out. Mistake number 5, treating sleep like it's an optimal accessory. If you're on your grind 5 to 6 hours every single day, every single week, and you wonder why your cravings just suck and your training quality is getting worse, that's exactly why. Your sleep debt is going to crank your appetite or your hunger hormones, your ghrelin, your leptin, and it's going to undercut your diet deficit. It's going to make it way harder for you to adhere to the diet at the end of the day. So what the research says is we have a 2022 randomized controlled trial showing that extended sleep and short sleepers reduce daily energy intake by 270 calories per day in free living adults that were overweight. And that's without telling people to diet. So imagine you just get good sleep versus not good sleep, and the good sleep group, you're just reducing your calories ultimately without anybody telling you. So to fix this, we can aim for anywhere from 7 to 9 hours per night of good quality sleep. Set a bedtime alarm and not just a wake up alarm for your body's clock. Last caffeine intake, maybe 8+ hours right before you go to bed. I know it's hard for most people because they're already so adapted to caffeine, like myself. Dim screens 60 minutes prior, no blue lights, black out your curtains, sleep in a cool room around 60 to 65 degrees, and make sure it's extremely dark so there's no distractions. If evenings are really chaotic for you, you got family, you got kids, you got all these things around you, work, try a 20 to 30 minute daytime nap. If I could do that more often, you better believe I would. And I'm not talking about after 4 p.m. because too late, that can potentially harm your sleep cycle at night and interfere with that, so you won't get as good quality sleep or won't be as long. And that can potentially help you curb your cravings, your weird cravings that you have throughout the day. If you're consistently under, let's say, 6 hours, you're gonna have to expect slower progress throughout this whole deficit. Fix this lever first. So let's put it all together. Your 14-day unstall reset. Calories and macros, your maintenance is estimated with a recent intake weight or calculator. So Harris-Benedict equation, make sure you use MyFitnessPal to track your macros. Then set the calorie deficit anywhere from 10 to 25% below your maintenance for the next 2 weeks. It's not gonna be perfect. Your number's probably not gonna be perfect, but we want a general guideline of what your weight does with whatever calories you're consuming. Make sure you're tracking everything correctly, raw, and you're inputting the labels that match whatever it is to MyFitnessPal macro factor, whatever you're utilizing. Protein intake, anywhere from 0.7 grams to 1 gram per pound, like to stick on the higher end. And then fill in the rest with carbs and fats, depending on your preference. Bias carbs, maybe a little bit before your training, if it's affecting your training performance. And then your training split could be something like this. Week 1, 2, repeat. So day 1 would be upper. You could do a bench or a dumbbell press with a row, barbell row, a dumbbell row, and then an overhead press. Pull down, chin ups are all amazing for your back overall. And then finish it off with some bicep curls, some tricep push downs. And then day 2 can be something like a lower body day. So you would do a squat or leg press, some type of squat pattern movement with a hip hinge. So an RDL, you have another split squat, do some calf raises because we all know we need to do calves. And then day 2, do some type of squat or leg press, some type of squat pattern movement, an RDL, hip hinge movement, a split squat. You could hit each leg unilaterally, build each individual muscle, and then hit it off with leg raises at the end because we all know we need to do calves. Everybody does. Abdominals, maybe you want to do some crunches with the rope for some weighted overload, or just do regular crunches and go to failure. Day 3 could be cardio and steps. So we want to focus on 30 to 40 minutes of easy cardio plus steps. So when I say easy, I mean we're walking on an incline, maybe 3.6 to 4.2. Incline could be anywhere from 10 to all the way to max. Do that for 30 to 40 minutes and you will be burning a ton of calories. But it's also not going to be as systemically fatiguing on your body, because you're not doing any type of high intensity workouts. And then we repeat it. We do another day 4, upper. We could do an incline press, chest supported row, a lateral raise to hit your shoulders, get that nice width, pull-ups, chin-ups, alternate your grips, and then hit it off with arms again at the end. Day 5, we could start off with a hip thrust because we know most guys need to work on the glutes. Do some type of hack or front squat, do a hamstring curl, seated hamstring curl, lying hamstring curl, hit it off with calves again, and then abs. Steps, 10,000 a day, perfectly fine. If you want to bump it to 12K, depending on if your weight stalls for a full week, you could do that as well. Sleep and stress, 7 to 9 hours, same bedtime, same wake up hours, walk after the meals for stress and for glucose control predominantly. I always like to walk a little bit after I eat a filling meal just to kind of help it digest a little bit better and so I don't feel like a slob. Food structure day. So sample would be like, let's say 1,900 calories to 2,200 calories for 160 pound to 175 pound individual, depending on how much muscle mass you have, how much you move. So breakfast could be something like Greek yogurt, 40 grams of protein right there, plus berries, 30 grams of a high fiber cereal, plus a little bit of honey. Lunch, we could do something like a chicken burrito, not like a Chipotle burrito. If you're home, just get the chicken burrito and just make it yourself. But if you're out, the Chipotle burrito is probably gonna be your best bet. 6 ounces, do a cup of cauliflower rice if you need something lower in calorie and higher in volume, so it's gonna help fill you up. Black beans, fajitas, veggies, salsa, all amazing. A pre-lift snack right before you hit it hard at the gym because you're just finished off at work. You could have this rice cakes with 2 tablespoons of PB Fit because it's less calorically dense and higher in protein, or a whey protein shake. Just make sure you have some type of protein. Dinner could be salmon or shrimp stir fry, 2 cups of mixed vegetables, jasmine rice, potatoes, and then right before you go to bed, cottage cheese, maybe leave a little bit of room so about 2 to 3 hours right before you go to bed, you can have that cottage cheese. Your body has time to digest right before you go to bed and it doesn't interfere with your sleep cycle. So weekly adjustments, fast and objective. So we're gonna track a 7-day average of body weight, compare week to week. If fat loss is less than 0.5% of body weight each week, for 2 straight weeks, I would either increase the steps by 1 to 2K steps per day, or just decrease your calories by anywhere from 100 to 200 calories, usually from carbs and fats, not from protein. If loss is greater than 1% of body weight each week, your lifts are like nose diving and they suck and they're getting worse. Maybe add a little bit more calories or just take a 7-day diet break at maintenance so your performance doesn't tank too hard. So do you have to intermittent fast? No. When calories and protein are equated, intermittent fasting doesn't beat the standard calorie restriction for weight loss. Only use it if it helps with your adherence. That's the only time we're going to use it. Low carb or low fat, both can work. It depends on you. Pick the one that you're going to sustain. I've noticed for me, moderate carbohydrates, a little bit lower in fat helps for me because I'm a little bit more physically active. Just focus on the calories, the protein, and the fiber in worst case scenario. All right, guys. And then if you want me to help you guys with your online fat loss journey, sign up to my program below. I'm taking the next 10 overweight male individuals looking to lose 30 plus pounds of body fat and build muscle in the next 90 days. So if you're serious about losing fat for good, sign up below and I'll see you soon.